early light, what so proudly we hail, at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you again, each and every one of you, for your patience. It's been an interesting day already. You know, you have the best laid plans, and little mice get involved. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your kindness. And again, thank you for your patience and the smiles. I actually see one or two people smiling, so thank you. There are some announcements, but I'm going to wait on those. They're not boring announcements, but I want to move some things around. I want, in just a minute here, Sheriff Mack to come out, because I know how much you each want to hear him. It's been my privilege to know Richie for a number of years now. I forget how many, Richie, about 10, I think. We're getting old. He comes from a law enforcement background. His dad was an FBI agent, so he grew up with badges and understanding all that sort of stuff. He was a cop. He used to be a cop. He started out like all cops at the lowest level and ran midnight shift, I'm sure. Richie? I was a meter maid. Meter maid. He was a meter maid. You don't want to see those pictures I have. They're not good. He was a cop at all levels. He served in all different capacities in law enforcement. And then he became sheriff of Graham County for 8 years. Top guy in Graham County. And with that, he brought with him his love for the Constitution, especially the 10th Amendment, the sovereignty of our states, where the federal government attempts, and still is, isn't it, trying to tell the state what to do and how to do it. In 1997, I think it was, right, wasn't it? 1997, he successfully appeared before the Supreme Court of the United States, and the case is Mack Prince versus U.S. And Sheriff Mack successfully won, prevailed in the United States Supreme Court. Our Graham County Sheriff in Southern Arizona. Yeah, you can do that. Absolutely. Because what's under one of the assaults today is the 10th Amendment. In other words, the sovereignty of our states, where the federal government tells us where we can sit, where we can stand, etc., etc. He and another sheriff won in front of the Supreme Court against the Brady Act, therefore protecting not only the state sovereignty, but your right, my right to bear arms. You might want to stop right now, Rich. I know. Just nice to have you. I'll go home. I think you're good to go. He is the founder and president of Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers, which he allows me to be a part of, and I get to serve at his meals during each of the conferences. That's what you do when you're a life member, you have to serve. And he understands servant leadership. He truly does. You're going to hear it in just another second or two if I be quiet. And and you're going to hear from his heart how he believes our Constitution, our nation, our state, you and I are under direct threat, and it's not theatrical, it's not political posture. So with that, I'm very proud to introduce a very good man, someone I've had the privilege and honor of knowing for a number of years, Sheriff Richard Mack.
By the way, you heard what he said. He is a life member of the CSPOA. And I think all of you might have the website. Let's see if it's on here. Man. Yes, it is. Okay, on the back page, it says, please visit www.cspoa.org. So you have that already. I gave each of you a highlighted version of the case. This is the Supreme Court case. If you look at the front, it says Supreme Court case. And this is the only time, get this, this is the only time in United States history where a couple of sheriffs sued the federal government, took it all the way to the United States Supreme Court and won. You have that history in your hands. And when you look up the case, it'll look like Sheriff Prince, P-R-I-N-T-Z. Prince's name is more associated with the case than mine. And I don't know why, because I was the one that started the whole thing. Right here in Little, Arizona, Safford, Arizona, that's where I grew up. That's where my father was an FBI agent. That's where I met my wife, 45 years. If any of you want to know how you stayed married 45 years, it's the wife has got to be very patient. That's the secret. Okay.
I have an Army Ranger. I know.
Oh, you know it. Okay, good. But I wanted you to have this because, one, this is the most powerful 10th Amendment decision in the history of our country. And we're going to go over some of this today, and I'm going to prove it to you. But there's some other things I got to prove to you. And one is, I want all of you to be part of this. Every one of you can become a member. In fact, we started the organization in 2010, and our total intent was to have one thing happen. And that is that the peace officers and sheriffs of this country would do one simple thing. Keep their oath. Keep their word. And as all government in America is supposed to do, put liberty first. Okay? Not traffic tickets, not the drug war, not kicking indoors, arresting all the potheads, not DUI checkpoints. In fact, I have assailed DUI checkpoints big time. And let me tell you real quickly on that while I'm touching, because that's not what the talk is about today. Just so you know, DUI checkpoints are actually illegal some places. But they're illegal because, can you imagine that we would just set up a DUI checkpoint they're usually New Year's Eve, and everybody has to stop there and show me their papers or they can't keep going? In America? In America. And that's supposed to be just okay because if we get enough DUIs, then it was okay. And literally, those have been justified by their numbers. Oh, well, we got 125 DUIs that night. Oh, well, then that makes it constitutional. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And it's real easy to make them constitutional. Can I tell you that secret? And you can tell your sheriffs and chiefs and others and Ducey, who doesn't know the Constitution. Well, all you have to do to make them constitutional is make them voluntary. And when you announce them, say it's voluntary and have a sign right there. Your participation is voluntary. So, the question right there is, if somebody turns around and says, oh, it's voluntary, I'm not going to go through, and they turn around, is that probable cause to go stop them? No, it is not. If you want to follow them for a little bit and see if you get a driving pattern, then you could develop probable cause, but turning around is not probable cause. Okay? They may have forgot something back at the bar where they were drinking. You never know. So, you guys, I'm telling you, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm known as Sheriff Mack. My name is Richard Mack. My friends, if anybody knows me through my life, it was Richie Mack. And I love Arizona. I absolutely am thrilled that this is where I got to grow up. And I've done a lot of things that maybe we should examine today a little bit. And one of them is that I sued the government and won. Okay, and so we're going to examine this, but I want to go back a little bit before that. Because we sued over the Brady bill. And I was at a meeting in Phoenix with all the sheriffs, and nobody was cussing this Brady bill more than your sheriff at the time. Anybody remember him? No. Sheriff Buck Buchanan. Yeah, I love Sheriff Buck. You know, he was a great man. But when it came down to it, I was the only one, I was the youngest sheriff in the state at the time, and I was the only one that said, I'm not going to do it. But at the time we had that meeting, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no clue what I was going to do. But I said I wasn't going to do it. We were threatened with arrest if we failed to comply. And this was the first time in American history where they did that. We'll commandeer the office of sheriff for federal bidding, and then if they don't do it, we'll threaten to arrest them. 1 year in jail or a $10,000 fine or both, and that threat is in this little booklet, so I want you to see it. I don't want you to think that I made any of this up, but you're going to be shocked and amazed at a lot of, at least 3 things that we're going to go over. You're going to say, that's the most powerful thing I've ever heard in any Supreme Court decision in my life. You're going to say that. And you're going to think that somebody sued Ducey and other governors that are not respecting liberty these days. You're going to think that we sued them and that it just happened a couple of weeks ago. Because that's what it sounds like. Okay? So we're going to go over this, and the main thing that we need to get out of this today is a bigger commitment to support the holy cause of liberty. Because it's just as important today as it was in 1776. And as a matter of fact, the threat against God-given American liberty is just as strong today, if not more so. And it has scared me to death. And it has literally broke my heart to watch America die by the very people who promised to preserve her. And it's not just the Democrats. But I will tell you, in my lifetime, and I'm 67, and I followed politics like you would not believe. When I was in 6th grade, I was running back and forth to my bedroom to the TV. Back to my bedroom to the TV. And I'd go back to my bedroom and just pray and pray and pray. Please turn the numbers. There's no way Johnson can beat Goldwater like this. And I was just praying for Barry Goldwater to win that. And Barry Goldwater was sure ahead of his time, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
What is my favorite quote? What is it? It's probably yours too, from Barry Goldwater. Extremism in defense of liberty is no vice. That I love that, because if you support the Constitution, you get called an extremist automatically. Then they call you a racist. And why? Because the other side has no respect for our history, no respect for our founding fathers, and no respect for our Constitution. And if you kill our Constitution, you kill America. And Washington said the Constitution is the guide that I will never abandon. And the reason why is because the founders had it as their intent for the Constitution to protect natural rights, natural law. And that even starts off in the Declaration of Independence, doesn't it? Nature's God, nature or nature's God. And so that includes everybody. You don't even have to believe in God, but you still have to know where your rights came from. And they came from God, or they came from nature. By virtue of you being born, they are yours. And then they established a government that would forever be dedicated to preserving those rights. And that's why they had 3 separate branches. Do you know that all 3 branches have the same purpose and goal? To uphold and defend, protect and preserve the U.S. Constitution. I take the same oath as the United States Supreme Court takes. Pretty much the same one the President takes. And didn't you love it when those new American citizens swore the oath? Absolutely love it. And that's part of what I'm saying. The contrast between the Democrats and Republicans has never been so vast and vivid and stark. I've even said there's very little difference between those guys. You can't say that this year. There's a world of difference. And a lot of it came from President Trump and his wonderful message to the world that we honor God's gift called life. And that we don't kill babies here. So I absolutely love that. Abby Johnson, I loved her. I saw her movie 2 years ago. It was astonishing. It'll make you cry, and I highly recommend it. What did it make? Was it called Unplanned? Unplanned. Yeah. And so, and the other one right there that I am ashamed, so ashamed of, that I believe every Christian should right now just stop paying taxes to the federal government. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. You know why? They literally take your money and give it to Planned Parenthood, $500 million every year, to a private organization. Why can't I then sue the federal government and say, why don't you fund my organization? You do it to fund killing babies, but you won't do it for an organization that promotes the Constitution. Oh my goodness. And you know what? A friend told me, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it's true by principle. I don't know if somebody actually at Planned Parenthood said this, but I believe it. I believe they probably did. We will have wholesale abortion in this country, and we'll actually have Christians pay for it. That's what's, whether somebody said it or not, it's exactly what's happening. And so one day when we get the courage to commit civil disobedience, I believe that the millions and millions of us that believe in our Savior should stop paying to that government until they stop paying Planned Parenthood with our money. I just can't see anything. I don't see any other solution. Speaking of the foundation of America, I said this on about hundreds of radio shows, and it seems like they've just been in the last few weeks, but because I've been doing so many. But since the pandemic, since my lawsuit, I've done thousands. I mean, literally over 1,500 TV and radio shows. And it kind of waned for a while, and I teach school full time. I'm actually a high school teacher, and yes, I teach American history. Okay. You want my trick question for American history trivia? Okay, trick question. Remember, trick question. What famous president is on the $100 bill? Say it. We have a $100 bill. What's his name? What's his name? Wait, we got the answer. No. It's Ben Franklin, and he was never president. He was never president. Okay, I got a $10,000 one for a year though. What was he in President Washington's cabinet? Agriculture? Nope.
Postmaster.
I owe you $10,000. You're the first person to ever know that I've ever asked. Okay, an Eisenhower silver dollar. Pass that guy. I know it's good because I just printed those this morning.
Yeah, I got one for you. All right. What's the difference between liberty and freedom?
You have to know the question first. Liberty and freedom. Actually, I don't think there is anything. If you look up languages, which I have done a lot of, libre in Spanish is both. It's freedom and it's liberty. Okay, libertad is freedom or it's liberty. And so I really, the people that get into that one, I don't. Okay, you do got it?
I got it.
All right.
Freedom and liberty. What is the difference between the two?
I just said that. I don't believe there is one. There is one. What? The spelling?
Freedom is you can do anything you damn please. But liberty is freedom with morality.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Right from wrong.
Yeah, I go back to my original answer. I don't think there is one. I really don't. I think they're completely synonymous. Okay? And if you check out where the root of both words, you'll come to the same place in Latin. You know, it's deeply. Okay? So, all right, folks. Now let me get to some serious stuff here. I'm always trying to be serious, so I guess I'll tell my joke first, so we can get serious after that. Okay? If you look at the history of Bill Clinton, even back when he was governor, and then when he was president, I am the only one to sue him on a non-sexual matter. Okay, so I'm really still shocked, and even as crazy and lunatic as the left is, with all the crazy things they've done, and the complete and utter insanity that has happened during this, quote, pandemic. And oh, by the way, we really do have a pandemic. But the pandemic we really have is one of complete and utter corruption. And it looks like to me, yes, the epicenter is in Washington, because we can't even trust Fauci. And how many lies has he told? I mean, he's told so many of them. Finally, Trump has kind of moved him out of the way. He didn't want to fire him because then, of course, he's going to go right out on the lecture circuit and write books again. You know, but the whole issue there is that we can't, as Democrats and Republicans and all parties and all people in this country, agree on one simple rule that we will have religious liberty in this country, and that churches will be run by ministers and pastors and clergymen and not the government, and that we could in some way be so crazy that we would actually arrest pastors for having church. Are we totally insane?
Yes.
And that a sheriff who has sworn an oath in God's name to uphold and defend, protect, and preserve the Constitution of the United States, Sheriff Cronister, in Florida, arrested Rodney Howard Brown for having church. And then now in Mississippi, where I just spoke last Saturday, they actually cited in all the parishioners in the parking lot, and including the pastor. And that we don't think that's a problem because we're shutting everything down because you stupid people don't understand it's for your own good. And what did Jefferson and the founders warn us about anybody in government ever coming to you with that kind of a lie? Never trust that, he said, but bind them down by the chains of the Constitution. Boy, the founders knew what they were talking about. It sounds like they were warning us about today's event and today's turmoil. And I'm going to tell you right now, if we had true leadership in this state, and I'm going to tell you, I think Trump actually exemplified it. Did he ever say shut down?
No.
What did he say? These are guidelines.
That's right.
We hope you'll follow them.
That's right.
Are we going to arrest everybody or have declare martial law and have cops come and check your homes? Oh my gosh. No, he didn't. But others have. And so a true leader would have said this to us. Look, we don't quite understand this pandemic and this disease and this virus. We're still working on that. But it really appears that the transmission rate and the infection rate is higher than anything we've dealt with before. And so we're going to ask you to stay home for a while. But we cannot force you to do that. We hope that you will do your own research and you'll see the efficacy of staying home. And we hope you'll wear a mask. And we hope that you'll research that also. And that you and your families will pray about it. And that you'll do the right thing. I guess most of us already prayed about it and got the answer today. You know, it's good to see you without a mask. And I'm never going to tell you you should wear a mask because your mask protects me. I'm never going to say that to anybody. It's kind of like everything else about that you're forced in this country to be charitable. And if you're not following our rules of charity for our government, then we will arrest you and take your home away from you and probably take everything from you you've ever worked for in your life. You see, God told us that charity must come from our heart, not from the end of the gun from the IRS. And so we render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's and that to God which is God's. And charity is part of our faith and who we are as Christians. That's where that comes from. And these politicians on the left would always say, and by then we're not going to give up all these Social Security and all these other welfare programs. We're not going to give those up because the people need them. And they never say the next line. Because we believe we should force people to do that. And so, is it any wonder that we're catching this whole thing that we're wearing masks to protect our neighbors and the people around us? And if you read the truth about that, Dr. Patar, who I'm on a committee with, and several other doctors, I mean, there's been hundreds and hundreds of them, that the science behind a mask stopping the infinitesimal fractional size of that germ is like, what that doctor say? It's like a chain link fence keeping out mosquitoes. It's not going to work, and it's not working. And you know why Hawaii now is doing their third shutdown? Because they had a little bit of a spike, and I have people calling me from Hawaii right now. And I'm going to be on a webinar, a Zoom meeting with some of their top officials on Tuesday. The top officials in Honolulu. To talk to them about this and to talk to them about this, that you got free today. Because the masking and the shutdown did not work. Because no one was doing it more than they were. No one. And at the beginning, they had the lowest rate of the disease in the country. Except maybe for South Dakota that never shut down anything. Boy, can't you wait for 2024 for her to run for president? Let's get Trump reelected first. All right. So the first thing now, what really gets me is this email that I got today is from the Liberty Council, and they're representing churches in 5 different states. Let me tell you the states: California, Illinois, Kentucky, Virginia, and Maine. Earlier, we concluded a case in Florida where the first pastor we just mentioned, Rodney Howard Brown, was arrested, handcuffed, booked into jail, and after he was in a cell for a while, he posted bond, and then he was released. My deal on each one of these, and you probably heard about the Harvest Rock Church in Ventura, California. Okay? We had people from the CSPOA go there, Oath Keepers were there, we had all sorts of people there, and I had my people stay there in the parking lot. I said, tell me if he's going to be arrested. I wish I had known before. I would have flown out there. I wanted to be there because I would have stood in the way of anybody trying to get to that pastor. But the word we got is that the sheriff, who's not really a constitutional sheriff, just said he didn't want any messing with that, and he told anybody that in the state government that they better not go bother their church. So we hope that. But in California's case, in Illinois' case, in Kentucky, in Virginia, and Maine, and how many more are there? Of course, New York, Chicago, yeah, Illinois is on here, but New York isn't on this list. Looks like to me Phoenix should have been on the list. They haven't arrested anybody, but you can't go to church and you can't sing in church and you have to wear a mask and all this other stuff. And I feel like I'm in some government church. I feel like I'm in some Stalag where they had, okay, well, yeah, we'll let you have church today, but this is where you have to have it. No. Not even if this pandemic was true as they say, would I ever surrender my liberty and my right to worship God Almighty according to my conscience and how I feel. And I hope that my conscience and how I feel is the way Jesus feels. Because I'm not searching for my religion, I'm searching for His. And there is none that I've ever seen that say it's okay for the government to run your church for you. That's totally opposite. So my point is this. Before anybody ever gets in trouble for having church, there should be a constitutional sheriff there saying, I will make sure my deputies are at that church. I will deputize every citizen in the country or in my county. I will deputize the ministers. I will deputize everybody and anybody to stand in the way and practice the doctrine of interposition. Stand in the way. No violence here. We've never advocated violence. We've had sheriffs do this already. Protecting people. Like Sheriff Nichols in Franklin County, Maine. He told the governor, we will not do what you say. We will not act like Nazi thugs. We will uphold and defend the Constitution. And you know what that means if you're going to keep your oath? It means you will take serious action. And if you have to kick out some agents, then you do it. If you have to kick out some state police, then you do it. And you hopefully have a meeting with all of them beforehand. You don't want to wait till the actual incident happens. And you need to let, the sheriff needs to let the other agencies in his county know. We're not arresting anybody in this county. And I won't allow him to be brought to my jail. And I will go testify for him in court. And I will go release him. And hopefully I'll be there to stop you from doing that. Because we had no authority to do that. And there's not a single public official anywhere in this country and anywhere in this state that has the authority to make you shut down your business, force you to wear a mask, or force your minister not to have church or how to have it. And I don't care what party they come from, and I don't care who they are. They don't have the authority. And only the people can bestow that kind of authority, and we've never done it. And the Constitution cannot be suspended by one of these thugs. They have no authority. Can they declare a state of emergency? Oh yeah, sure. Can they shut down our liberty and our Constitution? No. Like I said before, they can persuade us and they can reason with us, but they cannot force us and they cannot violate the principles of liberty that we were born with. Now, let's turn to our little, let's turn to our textbooks. I feel like I'm in American history. Okay, page 13. The Constitution protects us. Does it? If you have authorities that will enforce it, yes, then it will. I have this memorized, so I don't need to, but I want you to follow along. Look what Scalia wrote this decision. Look what he says. He's actually quoting another earlier jurisprudence. This is amazing, and this is the main thing that I got from this decision. But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. Don't you wish there was somebody in this state and in this country that knew that one principle right there? Do you think that would be enough for this case right then? Okay, we're done. That's one of the most powerful things ever mentioned in any Supreme Court decision ever. The Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. And then keep going with me. It divides power among sovereigns and among branches of government precisely. This is its purpose. It's precisely. Do you know that's what the Constitution is precisely to do? That we may resist the temptation to concentrate power in one location as an expedient solution to the crisis of the day. End quote. Folks, liberty comes first in America. The crisis of the day is never allowed to nullify liberty. If you have a strong leader who understands that, he will teach us, he will persuade us, he will reason with us, he will beg if he has to. He cannot force us, and he cannot suspend liberty. Now, folks, there's some other stuff we need to talk about there, but time is of the essence, and I don't know, I don't have all the answers here, and I didn't come here to give you a bunch of Sheriff Mack opinions. Those are a dime a dozen. I came here to tell you the truth about this decision. I came here to tell you the truth about the oath of office. I came here to tell you that every sheriff in this country has an obligation, moral and lawful, to protect and preserve the U.S. Constitution. And thereby, if he's doing that, he's protecting you and your God-given rights. Now, you have a new sheriff here. And right after this meeting, I'm meeting with him because he couldn't come here today. But we have a meeting on September 30th in Lynchburg, Virginia at Liberty University. And every sheriff in the country is invited to that meeting. It has room for 300. We hope we get standing room only and they have to set up more chairs and that there's actually 500. If we get a third of the sheriffs in America to be constitutional sheriffs, to be oath keeper sheriffs, to put liberty first, to truly serve and protect their citizens, we will take back America tomorrow. We don't have to wait for another election, and we don't have to wait for another piece of legislation. It's already there. That has been what I have dedicated my life to. That is what the CSPOA is all about. Let me tell you something right now. We don't have that meeting paid for on September 30th. And it's kind of been an amazing miracle because Sheriff Bond from Virginia was standing for the Second Amendment last March and February, and he calls me. And he says, we want you to come here and train all these sheriffs because the sheriffs are taking so much heat. Can you come and give your class to us? This is the first time ever that a group of sheriffs did this. It's usually us planning a meeting and trying to pull teeth to get sheriffs to come. just the opposite on this one. And they're having a meeting at the same place at Liberty University the day before with a bunch of sheriffs and chiefs of police. And all they have to do to come to this is stay another day. You folks, the potential for restoring liberty on that day for America, because we're trying to get sheriffs from all over the country to be there and support each other in this. If you just have one sheriff doing it here and there, and we want the sheriff that arrested Rodney Howard Brown, we hope to get him there. Because he needs to repent, and he needs to see that other sheriffs would have never done that. And we need to get Sheriff Rhodes there, your sheriff. And I've already invited him. He hasn't said yes to me. Not yet. If about half of you tell him you want him there and you're going to pay for his way, I'll bet you he'll be there. And we need him there. And every sheriff in the country, can you tell me one thing that they would have to do more important that day? There's nothing more important. We're talking about saving America. And that the sheriffs will leave that meeting invigorated in the holy cause of liberty. And all they have to do, usually, is to make a phone call to somebody. Hey, I don't want you coming to my county tomorrow, right? And if you try to arrest anybody in my county, I'm going to arrest you. You know, when I was sheriff, I said that to the Army Corps of Engineers and to the EPA. They were already in my county. I didn't make the call. They wouldn't let us fix a bridge. And then finally, the Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to fix the bridge. The EPA, Army Corps of Engineers, were there when they passed that. Those federal agents, threatened to arrest the Board of Supervisors, threatened to arrest them, and threatened to arrest all the maintenance workers and charge the county $50,000 a day for every day we're trying to fix the bridge without their permission. Because they're federal agents. They're trying, what they said is they were already spending 10 months on this. They said they had to finish their environmental impact studies. We're putting the bridge back the way it was. Okay? And I had nothing to do with it. I'm not the bridge fixer for the county. But now they make that threat. Now I get involved. And I told them if they tried to arrest anybody, I would arrest them. And I said, maybe the county attorney will drop the charges, I don't know. But I'll arrest you on Friday evening, and you'll see a judge Monday morning. And I'll say, and if you get out and if you do this again, I'll arrest you again. And I'm telling you right now, I get along with everybody. But you guys, we're fixing the bridge, and you better not interfere, because I will arrest you. Yay. Guess what happened? We fixed the bridge, everything was fine, we didn't pay a dime in fine, nobody went to jail, and the EPA and Army Corps of Engineers left town. Then my son works as a nurse in downtown Phoenix. I think he was at St. Joe's Cardiac Unit. And some guy's there visiting his wife, and he's coming there quite a bit to see his wife. And he finally sees my son so much, they start having a conversation. And the guy goes, well hey, Josh, where are you from? He goes, well, I was raised in Thatcher, Arizona. He goes, no kidding. The sheriff read me out of that town once. And my son goes, that was my dad. You should have let him fix the bridge sooner. And the guy actually said, I don't know if he was throwing baloney at my son, but he said, you know what? We all really respected your dad. Maybe that's why they left. I don't know. But we never heard from them again. Okay? So, folks, it's not always going to be that big of a deal for your sheriff to stand. But when he talks to the other chiefs of police in your community, and he talks to the state, and he talks to anybody else, the health department, said, we're not going to shut anybody down, we're not arresting anybody, and we all need to be on the same page with that. Liberty of the people in this county is paramount. It comes first. And so how do I know I'm right about that? Let's go back just a little bit in our book. And on page 11, it even talks about the EPA. My case was so powerful. It is absolutely astonishing, folks. Let's see where this one goes. And, oh, here it is. Right in the middle, top, the second paragraph on page 9. Hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. This is actually Federalist Paper number 51. Scalia is quoting the Federalist Papers and other founders. Amazing, huh? Because what does he do? He doesn't make law here. He's not making law. He's not making law. He's reiterating the law. He's enforcing the Constitution. The different governments will control each other. You see, people think I make this stuff up. At the same time, that each will be controlled by itself. It's our job in all three branches to make sure the other branches are staying in their proper lane. Folks, I can't tell you how much hope you give me when you're at a meeting like this. I thank you so much for being here. It's up to us if we're going to take America back. I'm asking you for your donations to the CSPOA. I'm asking you to help me fund this event on September 30th. I promised the sheriff that called me that he wouldn't have to pay for any of this, that we would get it funded. I should have told him it's the people of Yavapai, they'll do it, you know? But I didn't know I was coming there then. What did the Founding Fathers say? I'll close with this, the last line of the Declaration of Independence. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Today, remember we said it wasn't any different today? Today then, we must do likewise. Thank you so much.